Assembly Member Turrell.
Chair, can I thank the member for his question? I promise to be a mayor for all Londoners. So the best way to answer this question is to imagine a child born in London. Thanks to the ULEZ, they can breathe cleaner air and grow up with healthy lungs. I was told it would take 200 years to get air pollution down to legal levels. We did it in 9. When that child goes to primary school, they're now entitled to a nutritious free school meal, helping them to do better, while supporting their families and others with the cost of living crisis. When they're a bit older, they'll be able to walk through London knowing that they're less likely to be a victim of violent crime than the rest of England and Wales. They'll also be able to access positive opportunities in a youth club or holiday scheme due to our investment in the country's first violence reduction unit. Of course, there is much more to do, and I'll never be complacent about keeping Londoners safe, but we're making impressive progress. If a young person leaves school without a job, with a low income or a limited formal education, they can get free training available aged 19 or over. They might go on to get one of the 330,000 jobs we've helped to create through City Hall initiatives. If they need to get to work, they can take the Elizabeth line, the most used railway service in the UK, or the Superloop, riding one of the more than...
All right, guys, buckle up. Today we're diving into a polished but highly political opening. The mayor responds by painting a full life story of a London child, linking his policies to cleaner air, free school meals, crime reduction, jobs, transport, cycling, and housing. It's a sweeping narrative designed to show long-term progress and optimism, positioning himself as a mayor on Londoners' side, while subtly blaming past governments for setbacks.
2,600 zero-emission buses on London streets. If they want to hop on their bike, they'll be able to use a protected cycleway because we've increased them fivefold since 2016. One day they might be ready to buy their first home, maybe one of the hundreds of thousands that we completed. Or they could get a council home, which we've been delivering in record numbers. Like millions of Londoners, they'll be proud to live in what has been voted, yet again, the best city in the world. There is no doubt that previous governments' relentlessly anti-London agenda held back our city, and many continue to talk London down rather than defending what the capital represents and celebrating our successes. But the majority of Londoners can see how our city has got fairer, greener and more prosperous in the last 9 years, and they have hope for the future. They know they have a mayor who's on their side and a government that finally wants to work with London rather than do our capital down.
Thank you for that answer, Mr. Mayor, and I wish you a Merry Christmas and, of course, congratulate the Chair on his peerage. Mr. Mayor, you mentioned housing, and you say you're on the side of Londoners when it comes to housing. But in reality, aren't you on the side of blockers? At the last mayoral question time, you dismissed councils like Bexley and Bromley as NIMBY councils. Yet under your London plan, they have consistently approved enough homes to meet the target which you set them. The people who aren't delivering the homes are the developers who have been buying up the greenbelt and then sitting on the brownfield lands, leaving them undeveloped. So will you correct the record in regards to referring to Bexley and Bromley as NIMBY councils?
Chair, it's quite clear we've got a perfect storm of housing crisis across the country, including London. Part of that is that councils have been unwilling to give permission to schemes in numbers they should. And Bexley and Bromley are two examples of councils that aren't doing enough to address the housing crisis. The other part of the equation is the pressures facing developers.
I'm just going to have to jump in there, Chair, on that previous claim. You said Bexley and Bromley aren't doing enough. Yet, throughout this London plan, they have consistently approved enough homes to meet the target you set them in the London plan, meaning they are meeting the requirement you said were enough homes. Councils don't build the homes, Mr. Mayor. Developers build the homes. Developers are the ones not building the homes. Councils like...
All right, guys, this is where the tone shifts sharply. An assembly member challenges a mayor on housing, accusing him of mislabeling councils like Bexley and Bromley as blockers. The argument centers on who is really failing to deliver homes, councils or developers. The exchange becomes heated, with interruptions, finger-pointing, and political jabs, as the mayor deflects blame toward councils, while critics insist developers are being let off the hook.
Bexley and Bromley are consistently approving them, yet you are punishing councils, not punishing developers. You're caving into developers because you're letting them have what they want, which is to build on the green belt.
Well, you've heard now an admission from a Conservative. Councils don't build homes. Well, Tory councils don't build homes, but Labour ones do. And this mayor has been investing record sums, invested in councils to build homes. And Labour councils have been building homes.
Who have owned property development companies have gone bust, Mr. Mayor. Are you encouraging more councils to take risky investments with their council tax money? Are you encouraging more London councils to file for bankrupt?
As I recall, it was Bexley Council that went with a begging bowl to the previous government, asking them to avoid them being made bankrupt. Bexley Council, not a Labour council here. But he has to admit, a few moments ago, he made an admission. And his admission was heard by everyone here, and we will make sure that admission is heard by Londoners and others across the country, which is Conservative councils hate council homes. Well, we want to build homes that Londoners can afford to live in.
I always admire your ability to wishfully think and will phrases into existence, Mr. Mayor. But here's a phrase that you put into existence yourself. You and your deputy mayor have said you are in favour of brownfield first. You want brownfield sites developed first, despite caving in to let developers who have dragged their feet on delivering homes off the hook and caving into their demands. Will you ban developers from building on the greenbelt if they own undeveloped brownfield sites?
So, Chair, I'm surprised the member doesn't realise that 99% of homes built in London are built on brownfield site. We know, though, if we're going to build the amount of homes we need across our city, 88,000 homes a year, even if the member tries to rewrite history with Bexley and Bromley, we're not going to get there on just those brownfield sites. We also know there's a lot of greenbelt site that is inaccessible, poor quality, badly maintained. So I don't apologise. As one of the ways to address the housing crisis, we will be working with councils and developers, attaching conditions and building on some of those poor, inaccessible, badly maintained greenbelt sites.
Mr. Mayor, I think you've proven today that once again you ignore the facts. The facts are that councils like Bexley and Bromley have consistently approved enough homes to meet your target. The people who aren't delivering the homes are the people you're rewarding. So you're spineless against developers, you're spineless against trade unions, you're spineless against this anti-London government. We can all see whose priorities you are on, or whose side you're on, Mr. Mayor, and it certainly isn't the side of Londoners.
Well, that's very well read. Well done.
Assembly Member Garrett.
Morning, and a Merry Christmas to you and your family. So here's another area where you might say that you're on the side of Londoners. The government announced yesterday the return of the Erasmus scheme, which is a really lovely scheme. It's something you've campaigned for and you have welcomed, and it's a great opportunity for those young people who go on it, but it is immensely expensive. So I would ask you, for the cost of replacing, for the cost of the, I'm sorry, there's some staggering rudeness from some of my colleagues here. For the cost of 1 year of the Erasmus scheme, you could replace the Hammersmith Bridge 3 times over. Which one of those two do you think Londoners would prefer to see happen?
Well, I'm really surprised that the member isn't aware about the ownership of the bridge. The bridge is owned by the council, not the GLA or the TfL. He'll be aware of the rules in relation to capital receipts, in relation to transport receipts, in relation to council ownership. He also will know the idea that you pivot and switch funding for a central government scheme that brings us in close alignment with the European Union, gives huge opportunity.
All right, guys, now the debate escalates into ideology and accountability. The mayor defends building on selected greenbelt land, arguing brownfield alone can't meet housing demand. Critics accuse him of rewarding developers and ignoring facts. The clash turns personal and partisan, with claims about council failures, bankruptcies, and distorted priorities. At this point, It's less about housing numbers and more about who Londoners should trust to tell the truth.
To young Londoners, supports London businesses and increases connectivity between London and the European Union is very different from the previous government's failure to support the council. We're hoping, working with this government, working with the council, we'll be able to have some good news for the residents and those around Hampstead and Fulham.
Sure. So this government has done nothing on Hammersmith Bridge, and they've spent all the money on Erasmus, 3 years' worth of 3 times the cost of fixing Hammersmith Bridge. So the West London Orbital, for less than 1 year's cost of Erasmus, you could do brand new railway line from Hounslow, Hendon, West Hampstead. What do you think Londoners would prefer?
Well, I'm really pleased that members give me a chance to talk about the good news from the budget documents.
I haven't asked you to talk about the good news. I've asked you which one you think Londoners would prefer. Life's about choices, Mr. Mayor. You've campaigned for Erasmus. It's very clear. Lots of your colleagues here think it's a brilliant thing. I actually think it's quite a nice thing. It's expensive, and that money could have been used for something else. So do you think Londoners would prefer 1 year of Erasmus or to build the West London Orbital?
Well, according to the Brexit posters, we were going to get back £350 million a week when we left the European Union. That 1 week's worth of Brexit money pays for the bridge and some.
So I notice you refuse to answer on that either. There's a Docklands Light Railway extension into Thamesmead. That's a bit more expensive than the other two. That's actually, the entire project is 2 years' worth of Erasmus. So do you think it would be better to have the entire DLR line extension into Thamesmead funded, or would it be better to have 2 years of Erasmus?
So, Chair, I'm really surprised the members missed out the great news on the DLR extension to Thamesmead, or the great news in relation to the innovative funding the government's going to work with us in relation to the West London Orbital and
Sorry, how much have the government given us for the DLR, Mr.
extension.
Mayor? How much have they given us for the DLR?
So the government has confirmed there'll be funding, part of the cost for the DLR, and just like the Elizabeth line, and just like the Northern Line extension, we'll be using innovative funding in relation to the further cost of those projects. He will know, I hope, that the Elizabeth line was funded partly by the government, about a third. The other 2/3 by us borrowing in terms of London taxpayers paying and businesses. The Northern Line extension also was funded by future receipts. Similarly, the DLR extension to Thamesmead will be a combination of central government funding confirmed in the budget and us borrowing against future receipts as well. And the innovative funding the government's agreed to in the budget document in relation to West London Orbital and in relation to Baker Line extension is fantastic news for London and fantastic news for those of us who are passionate about improving transport infrastructure. I'm really surprised that members against those.
You're not passionate about improving transport infrastructure. You're passionate about Erasmus, and that's fine. It's a perfectly lovely scheme, but it's immensely expensive. And as you've just confirmed, what the government is saying is we can build a DLR extension and we can pay for it by borrowing money. And the money that the government could have given us to do that, they've spent on Erasmus, which you've campaigned for. And I've just asked you which of those you think would be better, and you just refused to engage with the question. So about an even bigger project, the Bakerloo line extension, that's maybe 4 billion or so. That's only 5 years worth of Erasmus. So in less than a decade, we could have the Bakerloo line extension into all the way down to South London. We could have the DLR extension into South London. We could have the West London Orbital linking West and North London, and we could have the Hammersmith Bridge replaced. And instead, we will have an Erasmus scheme. And you really think the Erasmus scheme is better than all of that?
Is it my turn?
Yeah. It's your turn.
Fine.
Well, he's not going to answer the question, is he?
No.
Well, you've not given him a chance yet. He's about to.
So what was that long pause, Chair?
Mr. Mayor, we'd like to hear you.
And the idea that he was chastising the Lib Dems for being rude, I mean, it's quite remarkable, the chutzpah of this guy. So we were promised, if we voted to leave the European Union, we were promised, according to the Brexiteers, every week, a cheque for £350 million every week. That cheque never arrived, let alone it bouncing. What this government is doing, which I fully support, is closer alignment with our nearest trading partner. Every successful economy in the world does the most trade with its nearest partner. Now, the joy of the Erasmus scheme is it allows youth mobility. People who've previously been on Erasmus are now not just leaders of European countries and British countries, but chief executives involved in venture capital, involved in leading businesses. That hinterland we built up over successive decades has helped us be prosperous, and I'm really happy that from January 27, there'll be a new generation of British young people, not just Londoners, he's very parochial, British young Londoners, but also European young people coming to our country, learning from each other, helping fill the gaps in
he's just monologuing now, Chair. I think I've given him enough time.
But also
It's
going
very
back to country
obvious.
of origin,
I think you've had
having
enough
fallen
time,
in love
Mr. Mayor.
with
You're not answering the
London.
question.
And I'm really disappointed that
Chair,
members
he's
talking down
monologuing.
young
Look,
people and talking
this is
down
about
the European Union.
short-term vibes
Thank you.
versus building a better long-term future for Londoners. A century from now, people could be enjoying stuff which Labour is not building. You've chosen your side. It's the wrong one. Thank you, Chair.
All right, guys, the final stretch pivots to transport and spending priorities. The Erasmus scheme is weighed against major infrastructure projects like bridges, rail extensions, and new lines. The mayor avoids a direct either-or answer, reframing the issue around Brexit promises, youth opportunity, and long-term economic ties with Europe. Critics push hard, accusing him of dodging choices. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you in the next video.